What's up, everyone? Good morning. Welcome to the call. I got some really cool things that we want to go over with you. We got me, we got Brian, and then we got Zach 2.0, the upgraded Zach, also known as Frank.
I'm Zach Beta.
Zach Beta. I like it. Really what we wanted to go over today, a lot of updates that we've been working on. So you're going to get a sneak peek. Some of you probably already log in on the beta server and check things out from time to time. But we're going to be logging in on beta. So these are things that you can actually hop in. You can check them out for yourself and play around with them. Just keep in mind they are beta features. So, there are still some things that we're working out before we push them live. So I guess I'll just share my screen, hop in and get started. Brian, Frank, you guys want to add anything before then?
No, I think the big thing we're going to focus on today, I'll just kind of maybe give you an overview of why we're doing it, and Zach, you can dive in, and then we can make sure we just hit everything. But we do a lot of internal metrics or internal optics into what parts of our system that hit the most across our entire user base. And doing so, we obviously found that the vast majority of our customers are spending most of their time in the transaction screen. So in order to enhance that transaction screen experience and elevate it amongst a lot of the other systems you may be using, CRM or outside of the industry, we decided to put a lot of effort in the next couple development sprints into elevating the transaction screen. So the vision of that essentially is allowing you to take your data, add all your fields to that, save your selection set, save your filters, export that, essentially making it a reporting engine for you, since most of your time is spent in the transaction screen. So you're going to see a lot of enhancement work in the transaction screen itself. A lot of it, the vast majority is coming from our customers who've wanted to elevate it. And then, as mentioned, just our use of other technologies that are a little bit more B2B. Some of the solutions that we use internally, as well as some of our CRM partners. So that's going to be the focus of today, is to kind of walk you through where we are with the transaction screen. And so over the next couple of releases, you'll see a lot of enhancements in that area. So
Cool. Thanks, Frank. Let me share my screen here and we'll kind of show you guys what we're talking about. So seeing that all right?
Yeah.
Cool. So hop in here. We're at beta. So you can always log in here and check out new things and test and let us know what you think. You'll see there's a new transaction screen down here called test. And so it was cool that Frank pointed out this is the most used page or the most used feature on the entire platform. So there were some things in here that we really wanted to update. For example, being able to just do a filter sorting here on any screen that you're looking at based on status. So that's in there now. We're doing 5 freeze columns. So this makes it a lot easier to know kind of where you're at. We had some people who, when they were scrolling all the way over to this side, they lost what was over here and it was kind of hard to keep your place. So I do believe we're working on kind of customizing these. So you might have different fields such as address that you really use to, that's not in there yet, is it, Brian? But being able to put address in here and be able to have that as one of your freeze columns.
I don't believe so. I think those are fixed at this point.
I think what Trevor said, Zach, is over your transaction fields, you'll have the ability to designate the first 5 columns.
Okay.
So
awesome.
if you put the fields at the top for the first 5 columns, and that's what's going to be in your first, that's going to be over in your sort. I've been doing some testing in the transaction screen. There's still some bugs. So I just want to give you a heads up there for some of the stuff that you're going to do, but definitely all this, and we'll call it kind of bugs, which Trevor acknowledged. There's some of those were bugs from prior. Sorting on every one of those fields, in addition to, we've had a lot of customers talk about, say for example, you're going to sort on, let's say sort on client type, for example, as an example. So then once you sort on transaction or client type, moving to page 2, page 3, page 4, you were losing your sort, which is a bug. So we've resolved that, or it is going to be resolved before the release, but making sure that your selection set is made, moving to page 2 will keep your selection set. So
Cool. Yeah, it looks like, so I filtered by closed, and now when I switch over to page 5, I'm still seeing closed. So it does look like they've addressed quite a bit of that.
Yeah.
In addition to that, a lot of people like to see a lot more there, right? So if somebody wants to see 100 entries on a page instead of 10, 10 can get a little monotonous to continue to click across.
Yeah.
And then Zach, you were asking about pulling the address. You could just drag and drop it over to the edge of the transaction amount, right? So just do the phone number as an example.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that puts it a little more front and center. It's still not on the freeze, but it does help. I don't think you can drag it into the freeze, can you?
No.
No, I do think it's worth pointing out though is you can drag and drop those columns now, much like Excel. So it will remember your selection set that you drag and drop. So that is a new enhancement coming out that's in beta as well.
Yeah, sweet. So getting into this a little more, these filters. So, we've talked about this before in previous masterminds, and Frank just barely mentioned it. These filters are a reporting engine. So you can layer on a lot of cool different, data points to say, for example, show me, here's an example of something that you'll be able to do. Show me everything that's closed with our Zillow leads. I know I've heard people talking about this with our Zillow leads, and I got a bunch of different Zillow lead sources, but everything that's closed with Zillow leads in this area or this postal code, right? And I can start to track that kind of stuff and know what my Zillow, what kind of business I'm doing with our Zillow leads in a certain area code. And then I could go ahead and save this filter. Up here, I can call that filter whatever I want, Zillow in 72031, save it. And now I can just come in and click on, and they're still doing some UI to make this look a little prettier. But okay, boom, I have these filters now where I can come in and say everything we did with Zillow here and there and there. And I might throw in this filter, then I say, okay, I want to know everything that came from Zillow in this zip code with a certain agent, right? So that's where you can kind of really start to slice this up, and you're really building your own reports in here by saving those filters. Frank, I know you were big on these saved filters. Do you want to maybe add a little bit there?
Yeah, I think just the big point is users are going to want to save a certain filter. They're going to want to go back to that filter. Maybe that's part of a job function. So saving the filter, exporting that filter. So when you export it, only is going to include that selection set or that save filter. So you can make it really just kind of a mini reporting tool. So, so that really
Zach, can you show us how to export that?
Yeah.
Some of you may not have this turned on, but if you don't, we can turn it on. So just be aware of this.
Yeah, whatever I filtered. So this filter isn't pulling up anything for me. So maybe I'll remove a couple of these. Now I got 102 deals, and I want to say, okay, well, I want to pull out those 102 deals. I just hit that button. That has to be turned on. So obviously all of your agents can't just go in and pull all their data out, but they can if you enable it for them or you enable it for certain admin seats. But you'll notice down here, it pulled up my CSV with all of these clients in it. So, if you want to get crazy with the Excel and really dig in at a higher level on this, or, run some testing on it, whatever you want to do, you can just pull that into that CSV file. Cool. So, yeah, I mean, I've just from a perspective of helping people use the platform at a higher level, really any field that's in the database is now filterable. So there's a lot of creativity, a lot of things that you can do there with, with these different things. That lead source with a certain zip code, that's just one example. But, you might want to say, okay, show me all the deals that we've done where the transaction amount was 500,000 to 1 million, right? Okay, now what lead sources are those coming from, right? So you can just get crazy with all these filters and do a lot of cool things with it. So we're really excited about this new update. Does anyone have any questions? Drop them in the chat if so, or just speak up. Happy to answer. while you're maybe thinking on some questions, I know one thing that I thought of, Brian, I don't know if you saw my feedback on this, but it will be really cool at a future date where you could maybe turn these custom filters into like a square on your dashboards, right? So imagine you have a square that's pulling from a filter. And so now you're starting to create these own custom tiles with a bunch of these filters. So that was just something that I was daydreaming about the other day.
Yep, I saw it. I love it. It's on the list, Zach.
Cool. Love
Hey,
it.
Zach, one thing I wanted to do is show something in dates because I've watched a lot of customers go in and try to do something. So maybe go to our, just go to leaderboards as an example. And in this leaderboard, the date section in the top right-hand corner, you can see here, we're looking at 5-star reviews. And for this month, I'm the only one that has any 5-star reviews. So let's go ahead and Zach, click on the start date. And a lot of people don't know how to quickly get to January 1st, but if you just click on September and then January, it's going to automatically take you to January 1st. And then if you want to go to the end of the year, you can just click on December and it'll automatically take you to the 31st of December. So you can actually really quickly filter that by month without having to left arrow, left arrow, left arrow 12 times, because I see people do that all the time. So just something I wanted to bring to people's attention.
Yeah, for sure. Another question we get sometimes is people come in and they go to admin transactions and they want to filter by date. And they say, oh, where's the date filter, right? Well, the reason the date filter doesn't show up yet is because you got to say what dates you're looking for. I'm looking for closed dates. Now, once I've put closed in there, now it will show me, okay, well, what date range for those closed transactions? And I can go ahead and add that in. So,
and one of the reasons for that is if you click pending, pending is just everything that's pending. There's no such thing as a date. Although if you then filtered it by a date, you would be seeing what you put under contract for that date. So It's doing both there. If you just click on it alone, it's just pulling up all of your current pendings. And then if you want to see what you put under contract during a certain period, that's when you would add the dates.
Cool. Yeah. So notice how, okay, I had 22 pendings, but then when I slapped on this date range of August to the end of September, we haven't had any new under contracts. So one other little thing that was brought up that Trevor's been working on team settings, this new part right here. So we have had some people request, hey, I don't really want to have a GCI closed leaderboard. That's not really something I'm interested in displaying. So I can come in and admin restrict that specific leaderboard or, any leaderboard that I want really to where only admins will be able to see it, as well as being able to restrict your team dashboard and your team snapshot page from being able to be seen by individual agents. So it was kind of a random request that we got, but there were definitely some people that had interest in that. So wanted to point that out as well. Cool.
I had a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
When I'm doing the like the closed or pending transactions, I always filter it by close date or settlement date. Mm-hmm. And then when I switch to like page 2, it makes my filter go away and then I have to redo it. Is that something you guys are working on?
Yeah, so that's a bug that we will be addressed. It will be addressed here in this next push. Actually on beta, I do believe it is fixed. If you go to beta, so you log in, instead of logging in at my.sisu.co, you log in at beta.sisu.co, and you go to this new transaction screen. So it's still in testing right now. But you should be able to come in and say, okay, filter by GCI. And now when I move to the next page, it won't, eliminate my filters. So let's double check that one, Brian, and make sure that bug is.
Yeah, there's a few of these filters that aren't yet working on this new transaction sheet. But one thing I wanted to point out as well is if you scroll across to the right, Zach, let's just say you wanted to filter based on mortgage company. So it used to be if you filtered based on this mortgage company, what would happen is once you did that, it would bounce back to the left side. So you would have to scroll back over. So that was a really annoying thing. So Now, no matter how far across you scroll, if you run a sort there, it's going to sort that and it's going to stay there so that you're not going to bounce back to the left side of the screen and have to come back over. So that's a big one as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you guys.
So yeah, no, for sure. This is, like I said, we have this whole, I mean, there's a lot. The entire kind of back end thing of all of this transaction screen is new. So Trevor's been working Trevor's the hero, by the way. If you guys ever think we're cool, there's this guy named Trevor at the back office that just kills it. So he's building all this, and it should be pushed here in the near future. Cool. Anything else new, Brian, that we want to go over?
I don't think so. I think that's probably good. Again, our focus is really here. A lot of people are replacing all of their spreadsheets with the data here. And I mean, we've on the forms, just so you guys know, I guess that's something I want to address. Custom fields on these forms, maybe go into that, Zach. Yeah, so if you look at these forms right now, we have a lot of different fields you can put in these forms, right? If you go to the admin team settings, but we still get requests on a daily basis to add fields. And we have so many fields in here that for somebody like you guys, you know, you may want just a limited number, but somebody else may want a couple hundred. And so it's just getting to the point where we're really wanting to focus and make everything in here 100% flexible. So what I mean by that is we're the next big push and focus of this area to be able to replace anything that you guys are doing is to allow you to add custom fields here. So whatever you want may not be what somebody else wants. So if you want to add a custom field for that, that's coming out in the near future as well as an extension of what we've gone over today.
And what's so cool about that is then you start talking about, okay, well now every field, even my custom fields, I'm able to run filters and reports and save those filters. And there's just like the possibilities that you're gonna be able to do with all that data. It's gonna be really, really cool.
So all of a sudden you're now, instead of relying on us for reports, and we have some cool reports pre-built, but essentially we're getting it to where you can run reports for any data you want, including data that we don't even know you have in the platform. And so it's really getting to that level where you can analyze your business at any level. And I mean, you see that by Zach saying, hey, I want to see Zillow in 72031. Well, that's a pretty customized filter there that you're looking for, or report mechanism. And that reporting value is just getting more and more robust. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, I'll give you another example. Someone I'm working with, they use FirePoint. They do tags inside of FirePoint of 6 through 10, which basically means the lead rating. 6, they're a year out. 8, they're going to buy in 6 months, and 9, they're going to buy in next month or next week. So being able to have like a lead rating field, and every time they add the tag in FirePoint, it comes in and updates that lead rating inside of Sisu, and then they're able to have those reports for every single one of their agents. That's like a very custom thing where we wouldn't have even dreamed about being able to do that, 2-3 months ago. And with all these new updates, all those kind of special reports, you just be able to build them yourself and save them as filters and run them. And then link them into your dashboard maybe at some point.
So they're doing that, Zach, on a per agent basis?
Yeah. So every time it's being built. I'm helping them with it right now, but it's being built where they can have this kind of lead rating, custom way that they track their pipeline inside their CRM coming over into Sisu.
Are you doing that? You're doing that with FirePoint, Zach?
Yeah.
Do they have, maybe not the place for it, do they have a Zapier for that?
They do have a Zapier. It's private. It's not the best ever, but it will do something for us. So
will you send me that private invite if you have it?
No problem. Yeah. I don't even know how I got it, but somehow I did.
Yeah, I tried to find that. So
does anybody else on this call want that private invite for FirePoint?
That's funny. All right. Well, I think we've covered quite a bit. Some really exciting things coming up. Hopefully, you guys are seeing the vision of everything where this is going. So reach out if you have questions. Give us a ring. Shoot me an
And
email.
maybe too, and Zach mentioned it, but everybody has access to the beta system. So,
Yeah.
you know, everybody that we see on this call here in the mastermind, you're historically, you know, it's a very small segment of the consumer base that are involved in these calls. So you want to influence the product, you want to make it yours, you want to say, well, yeah, great job on the transaction screen, but I think you forgot this. Make sure you do. Make sure you go into beta.sisu.co, your login credentials, you're hitting the same database essentially. Log in, play around with that new transaction screen and tell us whatever we missed. We'll hope to knock out all the bugs ourselves, but yeah, let us know. The product definitely has evolved based on the feedback of the customers. So this is your opportunity to do so and to
Just keep in mind, think changes that you make in beta will be reflected as if you had made them on the live platforms.
Excellent point. Yeah, use a test record if you're going to do anything in beta.
Yeah, so one thing to keep in mind there as well is if you do go into beta, you may experience quite a few bugs because a lot of times testing hasn't been done there yet. So just be aware that's probably not where you want to spend most of your time.
Yeah, let Zach and me and team flesh them out during demos. We'll practice on your future peers.
Brandon, I'm not sure what you said will be really nice, but maybe you could publicly let us all know what you're thinking there.
He's dropping it in the chat box.
Lock scrolling.
The lock scrolling.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you again. And as you see, we're having some pretty big weekly progress that we continue to push out, and just grateful for all the feedback that everyone gives us so we can make this a lot better.
Okay. Thanks, guys. We'll see ya. We upload these online, so if you want to check it out, they'll be there.
All right. Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Frank.
Yeah.